that keyboard ASR10, and then there's FruityLoops, which took over. FruityLoops. What we own every day. Phone.
What if I told you one program single-handedly changed the entire music production industry? From being a simple game-like program to disrupting a whole generation of music producers and hitmakers. On today's video, I'm going to be examining how the FruityLoops program changed music forever.
FruityLoops, them sounds is garbage. They're fake. Don't fall for the trap.
In 1998, FruityLoops was born, developed by gaming company ImageLine, which had a questionable background, developing adult versions of the game.
There was a software company that had just started out, very popular now, but they were just like a bunch of goofballs out in the Netherlands, you know, that used to make interactive games and stuff like that, and this company called ImageLine.
And at the time, video games and music creation had just started to merge, with releases like MTV's Music Generator coming out for the PlayStation.
The MTV Music Generator, music creation for the PlayStation.
And while these games were nothing super serious, they began to train the next generation of producers.
Music Generator, PlayStation 2. Well, a game, matter of fact, it was a game. I started making beats up there with it had no keyboard sound, all drum. After that, I moved to a PC, FruityLoops. It was a wrap.
When FruityLoops came out, it was rather simplistic. However, it did one thing right, and that was making music creation feel like a video game. Similar to the Tetris games that ImageLine had already developed, users were able to click and drag in blocks to arrange different musical patterns.
FruityLoops is where I started. Drag and drop. Click, 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 click.
And this new style of production unlocked a completely new way of interpreting music visually. But it was not only the simplicity of the DAW that made it attractive to many upcoming producers. It became easier and easier to obtain any program. Not only that, FL Studio could run on literally any computer. And because of ImageLine's gaming background, it was well optimized. And instead of big fancy studio computer rigs, a bunch of beat Windows laptops began to invade the studio space.
Beyonce's daddy walks in, and I'm making Girl, I'm making the beat to it. He walked in and said, "That's a smash hit." And Beyonce turned and said, "Ooh, daddy, he made it on that," and pointed at my laptop. It was a Hewlett Packard. Because I got Best Buy.
But as the FruityLoops invasion began to take over, many producers did not like this new wave.
Well, I don't think we have producers anymore. I think we have great programmers. I think that we have great programmers that, I think beats are not made by like how we used to do them. I think they come as a package, as a loop, and it's for you to figure out which program to run it through.
However, this was understandable, as producers from the era before had to physically play each instrument and collect each sound that they wanted to hear. And while many of the emerging producers looked those who actually had to play the beat, there was no way anyone was going to pull up to a session and start playing mini trumpet.
Hey, I'm looking here at this pocket trumpet.
And as more and more younger producers start to emerge, many top hitmakers of that previous decade didn't really understand production anymore because it had fundamentally changed.
Music is colors now. First, it was all about feel, people playing in the room. I'm challenging the click like people on the FruityLoops. It's like, I'm challenging, it's like a game. It's like, I gotta be the Fork Knight. I gotta be that guy. I gotta beat all the teenagers, you know what I'm saying? I gotta,
What is this game?
And while the game-like nature of FL Studio was convenient, the hand feel of making beats was essentially lost pretty quickly. And this, more than anything, is what gave each producer a signature sound back in the day. Because the marketplace at the time demanded the highly quantized sound of FruityLoops, producers in many ways had to detach themselves from their unique rhythmic sensibilities.
I think that's what I think when, OG might say something. It's the bounce of the computer versus hand felt touching of doing, of human bounce. So I think what happened was that to own, and it just, everything just so like syncopated.
And as this new sound took over, many still decided to fight it.
FruityLoops. It's called too easy. It's called you tell the computer what to program. That's why you see everybody as a producer and a DJ now. Them sounds is garbage. They're
Hater.
Don't fall for the trap.
However, FruityLoops having a trash sound was far from the truth. In fact, the one thing that made the DAW absolutely lethal was its hard-hitting sound, which quickly began to outpace sounds coming from older beat machines.
Adult grown men are like, yo, I use MPC ASR 10. Like, yo, they're like, what do you use, man? They're like, oh, I'm like FruityLoops 3. They're like, oh, okay. Like, and literally, I went there and like spanked everybody, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't even matter.
And for whatever reason, the sounds coming out of FruityLoops were just louder and more aggressive.
When FruityLoops first came out, it was so loud, and their rough mixes were actually killing some of us engineers. I was in a loudness war with FruityLoops.
And while it might not have been the DAW itself, things like continuously recycled drum sounds from the internet, which had likely gone through multiple layers of clipping and compression, and tools like Fruity Limiter and Fruity Soft Clipper, and the legacy effects allowed producers to effortlessly make hard-hitting drums.
Do you use stuff on your drums? Because your drums are noticed for slapping really
Not really.
Really?
Yeah, everything's pretty raw. I use the legacy settings and the legacy effects in FruityLoops, the built-in effects.
That was analog. Now I like them how they hit now. Fruity Loop. I like that. Why I just feel like when I hear it now, I'm like, that shit sound old.
And as music really went into the SoundCloud era, FL Studio really became the sound to go to. Bigger studios were less in use and were replaced by the famous producer houses at the time, where the FruityLoops now turned into FL Studio was the main software of choice for producers to pump out dozens of beats a day. Fast forward to today, and this DAW is just as popular as ever. However, more producers found themselves reaching for more organic sounds or learning instruments to fight the oversaturation of generic sounding beats due to the accessibility and ease of music production that programs like this caused. It's clear to see that FruityLoops completely revolutionized music production, from starting as simple sequencing software to becoming a program that completely changed music forever. It's no doubt that this program will go down in history. Will it continue to reign king or be replaced